when things do happen, you're not living paycheck to paycheck.
Welcome, you guys. Today we have Kisha Magnuson with us. Something about Kisha that blew me away. You're like, oh, not ready for this. That blew me away is her confidence and her wealth of knowledge. So a backstory about our relationship is she messaged me on LinkedIn. And in a week, I always get like the whole, hey, like, can we talk? Like, can we connect? But I saw Kisha and I was like, there's something here. So we connected. And she took me through all the wealth secrets. She took me through what I need to invest in. And let me tell you, my investment went from having 4,000. So initially I put 2,000 3 years ago. It appreciated to 4,000. But in the past 4 months, it appreciated even more to 5,300. So 1,300 in the span of 1 month, in 2 months, versus 2 years putting it in and only appreciating once. So knowledge is powerful. And today Kisha is going to go over investment over time and what that's going to look like, wealth secrets, and what she does.
What got me into this industry was I have really big goals and dreams for myself, and I needed to figure out how money works. And so as I was figuring all that out for myself, reading books, listening to podcasts, there was a lot of information that I felt was missing. And it was more so of the fact of, okay, maybe this is pertaining to the States, how to actually apply those things for myself. So I started some of my own businesses. I was selling stuff on Amazon and drop shipping. And, then I got into markets and how money was actually working. And then that kind of led me into being connected into the financial industry. And so I came through 3 education sessions that completely changed my view on money, my understanding of money. And when I came through those myself, I was really upset at why they didn't teach us this in our schooling systems or in our banking systems properly, and how to tangibly achieve those things. And I realized that the gap between the wealthy and the middle class is not necessarily just having money, it's the resources and information as well. Like, a lot of people who have a regular income can actually really build wealth for themselves if they have the proper education and resources. And so as I started applying those things for myself, I was like, wow, I want to really set up people around me. The younger you start, the nicer it's going to look. Even if you're hearing this at age 20 or 25 or 30 or 35, if you just start today, it's going to look so much better than if you just wait a year, 2, 3 years from now. It just matters if you just start now. I'm going to show an example here of if somebody were to start at age 18 and they were to invest $100 a month, and if they were to get 8% interest on average, and then I'm also going to compare it to 10%, because at 2% it sounds minimal, but it actually makes a really huge difference. This person was probably going to spend this $100 a month anyways, whether it be on food, on new shoes, on, going out with friends, whatever it was. But I'm also going to chat about a mindset of paying ourselves first in a moment. And so when it comes down to this person would have put in a total of $56,400 by the age of 65, doing that $100 a month. So they worked for that $100 a month, but if it was invested and got an 8% return, that money would have had growth of $506,000. And so when it comes down to that, if you could grow $56,000 to over $500,000, would you do that?
Yes.
No-brainer. When it comes to the actual growth between your contributions and your investments, you had $563,000. But what if you got 2% more? What if you got 10% instead of 8%? Because like I mentioned, it sounds minimal, but huge difference. You would have put in a total of $56,400 still, but your total growth is now $1,037,000. So you just seen how you could set yourself up to become a millionaire status from the age of 18. And now that with your total contributions, it puts it at almost $1.1 million. When it comes to the education of knowing these things for ourselves and creating that discipline, but also teaching those disciplines to our children, and also the principles and, what is it actually teaching us in the Bible? We never want to put money before God. We never want to make that a master or an idol. We need to be content with what we have, but we also need to steward what we have well. If you can be as tax efficient as possible, and this is where I really love to personalize things for people, because not every account is great for everybody. And then, other accounts are better for certain situations and times of our lives. But when it comes down to this, if you know how it's being taxed going inside of an account, how it's taxed inside the account and also coming out of the account, that's going to really help you to save on sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars just in taxes in the future, which could make a huge difference and maybe sometimes be the difference of people actually having a better retirement versus not. The last thing I want to talk about with Wealth Secrets is just understanding this concept of paying ourselves first. When it comes down to paying ourselves first, we have to look at our future selves as another bill. It's just a bill that I need to pay for every single month, and that's really what it comes down to. Even if it's $25 a month, if it's $50 a month, you're still setting yourself up. But if you also had that money, making money for you in your sleep, or you're putting it aside for an emergency fund. I love to help people set up emergency funds because it's so important.
Right.
So it's just really understanding. We've heard of these things, but no one's actually explained it to us. No one's actually taught us, like, okay, what does this actually mean? What does it look like in our lives? When it comes to investing as well, you really want to understand what things are out there that we can actually invest in, because you want to have diversification. There's liquid assets, there's fixed assets. It's great to have different diversifications, but you also want to be in real investments. Putting all of your eggs in one basket and depending all on one company like a stock, it's not always going to be the best, because we don't know what's going to happen with that company in 5-10 years from now. BlackBerry is a great example of that. A lot of people were invested inside of BlackBerry and it's never recovered. And so when it comes down to knowing those different investments, it's also really important to understand what kind of interest does this investment also give me. Because if we're paying, there's two types of interest. It's going to be simple and compound interest. If our debts are charging us compound interest, where it's interest on top of interest and it's growing so much faster in what we're owing to institutions, whereas our savings and our investments are giving us simple interest, we're not going to get ahead of our situation. We need to actually flip that around. How can I be receiving compound interest in my money but paying simple interest in my debts? And so again, these are things that I actually break down in these education sessions. But when we're in investments and in the markets and the market is coming down, a lot of times people are scared of, like, my money's low, I want to pull out, I don't know what's happening with the economy right now. We hear people saying things like, never let a good crisis go to waste. And it's actually like, okay, I hear these things, but what does it actually mean? Take advantage of that time, because the markets are actually coming down, and if you're in proper investments, you're actually able to take advantage of that time. That's where you can actually make the most money coming out of it. So there's some really key things that I feel we go off of our emotions with, when we actually need to understand the logic of those things and take advantage. And a lot of these things we can't do on our own, especially when we don't have a full background in these areas. So, it's really great that you have a financial advisor and you actually allow this person to see your personal, what's going on. But also, not only that, a lot of people have an advisor and they just say, yeah, my advisor handles everything. But you need to be properly educated with that advisor. A little bit about more what I actually do is I run education sessions, how we can grow our money more effectively. We want to know how we can be tax efficient and what we actually have access to maximize everything, properly set things up, and how to actually utilize it in the future, how to actually protect those things. Then I will go in and actually personalize, like, what is your actual goal?
Honestly, it's such a privilege to have someone in the kingdom of God that touches. The kingdom of God has so many members, and for one of them to be kingdom financiers, people like you that teach us how to be that sort of person for the world, is so powerful. And I think that truly you being here, you being someone who's vocal about this knowledge, is going to benefit us in ways we didn't even understand, and it's going to benefit us in ways that we didn't even expect. And so God bless you truly for the work that you do. Because everything that she did for me was free, absolutely free, but it changed my financial trajectory. So tap in, literally tap in. I'm going to put Kisha's LinkedIn as well as email. Contact her, reach out to her, ask her if she's free and available. I'm sure she's going to be more than happy to connect with you. But this is a time for us to grasp on the opportunity that we have now, because the last thing you want, again, right, is car to break down, mortgage to come in, and all of a sudden there's no money in the bank, when you already had the opportunity to learn and set yourself up for success.